Hi, I'm Julie Banderas, and you are in the strategy room. Neil Gorsuch is facing day 2 of his confirmation hearing. The judge squaring off with top senators on topics ranging from enhanced interrogation to the Trump administration's travel ban. The nominee said politics will not govern his decisions as a justice and repeatedly said no man is above the law when asked how he would treat cases involving the president. Here to discuss, our trial attorney, Marie Napoli, and former federal prosecutor and criminal defense attorney, Doug Burns. Thank you both for joining me. Doug, let me start with you.
Sure.
You know, while Gorsuch didn't actually take the bait and get into the weeds regarding the travel ban,
yes.
The travel ban is like the main contentious issue that he is going to be held to the fire on.
Yes.
How do you think he did? And
I thought he did very well. I mean, I think he comes across as, you know, very sober, you know, the old phrase, sober as a judge, very scholarly, obviously very reserved, very humble.
Do you think his comments should worry the Trump administration?
Say it again?
Do you think his comments should worry the Trump
Not
administration?
necessarily. I mean, I think it's interesting because, you know, judges cannot really, under the canons of judicial ethics,
Absolutely.
start commenting on how I'm going to rule on a particular case. I chuckle incessantly when I watch cable TV and they're like, if this goes to the Supreme Court now, it's 4-4 right now. I mean, that's laughable because the point is they haven't seen a piece of paper, they haven't seen a brief, they haven't heard any argument. Chief Justice Roberts switched, as it were, to the other side with respect to the Obamacare decisions. So I think everybody should really just calm down, new legal phrase. I'm joking, but the point is, my goodness. But I think he's doing well. I think his credentials, I mean, my God, can you seriously maintain with a straight face that this man is not qualified for the Supreme Court? He clerked for 2 justices,
and they
has
knew
a
that.
PhD from Oxford in law,
They
and
knew
has
that.
been a federal appellate judge for 10 years.
They knew that when they nominated this man, that he was intelligent and that he would be liked by both sides. They wanted to try to pick somebody that the Democrats really wouldn't push back on. But then the travel ban came about, and obviously many justices had a problem with that. If he were to be then part of the Supreme Court and the vote were to come down to the Supreme Court on the travel ban, what do you think? Do you think that he would rule in favor or against?
I don't think he's going to rule one way or another on anything because of the favoritism towards Donald Trump. And even when he said something negative, Donald Trump said something negative about a federal judge, a so-called judge, you know, he came forward and said, you know, he was deeply disturbed by that, and it was very upsetting to him. I don't think he is going to be influenced. As a Supreme Court justice, paramount is the separation between the balance of powers.
Right.
And I think he's going to hold strong to that. Now, that said, I think he's very conservative. And when he does interpret the law, he will interpret the law in a conservative manner. So will the Supreme Court become more conservative? Yes. But I think he's a great judge, fair-minded, and he will not create law. He will not legislate. He will just interpret the law and make sure it's constitutional.
And so then if he were to rule either in favor or against, how much of religion will play a factor? That is something that Democrats have a big problem with this travel ban because they are predominantly Muslim countries and they believe that it's coming down to religion.
It's interesting because it's actually kind of a complicated case where, once again, not to be a broken record, everybody's mixing apples and oranges. When you use constitutional analysis, a lot of times you have intent. Is it intended to do that? But you also have effect.
Right.
It ends up causing the effect of discriminating against a group. That's a fair argument. But again, for the judge in Hawaii to quote campaign statements, I thought was a little out of line. I think you should look at the document, look at the statute. It's very hard to predict how it's going to come out. And the other point I want to make real quick is we've had situations in history where justices turn out not to be what the president thought it was. David Souter. And then, of course, the famous one, they asked President Eisenhower, what were your 2 biggest mistakes as president? He said they're both sitting on the Supreme Court, Earl Warren and William Brennan. So the point is, and I like your analysis, it's not clear. I mean, this is a very fair-minded judge, and he may turn out to be slightly more liberal than they think, in my opinion. But again, I don't have a crystal ball.
Right. And he, you know, that last Hawaiian ruling where they talked about intent, I think it's clear that there was an intent, even though it wasn't in the 4 corners of the bill. So I think the Supreme Court could really go either way with that.
Yeah. And I mean, the revised bill doesn't really change much. I mean, it took a rock off of.
Oh, well, it changed.
But for Democrats. I mean, Democrats,
well, but Julie, what they did is
they made it constitutional.
Yeah.
The first bill.
No.
Well, the first bill, unfortunately, did not exempt or carve out green card holders or those
Right.
with valid visas.
Right.
So they changed that. But then they got cute and they said right on the face of it, this is not a religious ban.
Right.
You don't ordinarily do that in legislation.
Right.
Right,
So
right.
you know what I mean? No, seriously. So I think, you know, the court may have been a little bothered by that. But
Yeah.
if it goes to the Supreme Court,
But you both pretty
It'll be
much
close.
agree he'll most likely be confirmed.
oh, I think
Oh,
he will
great.
definitely.
Yeah, no,
be
I think
confirmed.
that's pretty much a
question, yeah.
unanimous.
No, I think he definitely will.
Yeah, I believe that most
a great
agree with
judge.
that. Yeah.
He is a great judge.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about his qualifications. I mean, that's why they picked him, because they knew
Right.
that this was going to be such a contentious assignment.
Yeah, and I mean, look, President Bush put 2 conservatives in, Justice
Right.
Alito and the
Of
Chief
course.
Justice.
Oh, I mean,
and
what did
President
the
Obama put in
Democrat Of course
Elena
he did.
Kagan and Sonia
That's why I don't
Sotomayor.
understand why a lot of people make such a big deal out of this, because clearly a Republican president is going to
Right.
nominate a Republican or a conservative.
Exactly right.
to the Supreme
I
Court
almost
if
think
that
this judge kind
were to
of
come up.
crosses partisan lines,
Yeah.
because
No.
a lot of Democrats I know really
Right.
like
He's gonna be
him.
very
No,
good
he
justice.
is. He's very well liked by both sides, and so that certainly was something well thought out by the Trump administration when choosing him. Thank you both,
pleasure.
though,
Thank
for
you.
coming on. Marie and Doug, great to
Nice
see you both.
seeing you.
Thank you.
And for complete political coverage, stay right here at foxnews.com. I'm Julie Banderas. Thanks for watching.